For our last example in this section, I want to show you that you can use a confidence interval to do a lot of your testing work as well, rather than just a hypothesis test. So let me show you how this is going to work. A researcher believes that political scientists, those are people that study politics for a job or a living or just for fun, vote in a different proportion than that of the general public, who votes at a rate of 46.6%. He gathers data on a random group of political scientists and finds out how many of them voted in the last election. Instead of running a hypothesis test in StatCrunch, however, he ran a confidence interval. He accidentally runs a confidence interval and the results are below. All right, so we have a 95% confidence interval here. And you can see I've labeled some of these things. So for example, this is X, this is N. So he sampled 154 political scientists altogether. 95 of them voted in the last election. The P hat is your sample proportion, which if I didn't give it to you, you could still find it because it's X over N. The standard error of P hat is 0.03917. Remember, that's that formula, big square root of P0, 1 minus P0, and so on. And then you have your lower limit and your upper limit. All right, so what are the hypotheses the researcher is testing here? Well, you assume that political scientists are the same for voting percentages as everybody else. So you're going to assume that it's 0.466, that there is no difference between them and the regular public. The alternative to that is that P is, now we got to look. They use the word different. See it right there? By using the word different, that means we're going to go with a not equal to right here. So I don't know if they vote more because they really love politics or they vote less because they're jaded. Who knows? But one way or another, he thinks that they are different, and that's where this comes from. That word different gives us that not equal to. All right, now what was the point estimate? That would be P hat, which of course we found anyway. It's X over N, which is 95 over 154, which they already told us, although they didn't have to. It's 0.6169 approximately. All right, we've got that. Now, using that confidence interval, did the researcher find a statistically significant difference in the voting areas rates of political scientists? Explain. All right, so I highlighted up here the confidence interval. So let me just write that down. So the confidence interval is from 0.5401 to 0.6937. And I drew a picture of it right over here so you could see. So the lower end is 0.5401, the upper end is 0.6937. All right, now he's claiming that that is different, significantly different than the regular public, which is at 0.466. And he's correct. Since 0.466 is way over here, it's outside that interval. And so therefore, the interval supports his claim that the political scientists are different than the regular people, because the regular people are over here at 0.466, which is not included in that interval. All right, so again, the confidence interval supports his claim, which is H1, because the null value of 0.466, P equals 0.466, is not contained in that interval. Now, just something to note, if the regular public had been the null hypothesis of P0 equals, or P equals 0.566, then that same interval would have not supported the claim because 0.566 is within the interval, right? So it's all about what that null hypothesis is. Since the null hypothesis in our example is not in that interval, that supports his claim. And just on a side note, by the way, since this is 95% confidence level, that means that alpha is 0.05. Just on a side note. All right, what would the researcher write as the conclusion then? Well, since we support the claim, so we're supporting the alternative, that means there is sufficient evidence to support the claim that political scientists vote in a different proportion than the regular public. Again, the first line is all about that setup that cannot be changed. It is verbatim. The second line is what your alternative is in words. So in this case, that political scientists, the researcher believes that political scientists vote in a different proportion than that of the general public. Right there. That is your alternative. And that word right there is where your alternative hypothesis is coming from. All right, we are done with section 10.2. I'll see you back here for more hypothesis testing, but next time it'll be for the mean, mu, in section 10.3.